hear me back here in the back? Speak up, okay. As you know, we're here to celebrate, honor, maybe talk about Rich Robbie. Probably talk about it, I don't know. Before we do that, though, I would like to introduce the head table. Write everybody's name down. They were over here. On the end, we've got Craig Robbie. Scott Robbie. Come on. Mark Robbie. Jenny. Of course, you know Rich. Who? I'm the guy that's not sitting there anymore. Dr. Diamond, scientist at RADC. And Charlie Woodley. I just forgot his name. Colonel White and Jack Bart couldn't be here today. They're both out of town. So I've asked Dr. Diamond to say a few words about Rich and present him with the retirement plaque. So if I may, Dr. Diamond.
It says to Richard Robbie for your many contributions to the art of electromagnetic compatibility, technology, and the Air Forces have no program for the establishment of the finest in RADC, to your dedication and enthusiasm to in-house research. We are forever indebted. Signed by Colonel Raymond White, myself, and Colonel Raymond Schulstead. Third grade. Well, this plaque sort of doesn't. This plaque sort of doesn't tell it all. First, I have to tell you something, but I better very carefully. There's a fellow named Kelly Jones, well-known space industry, and Kelly Johnson operates for Lockheed something they call the skunk work. It sounds like a demurrer, but for his problem, he wanted to build a special plane, like this whole series of spy planes that you're all well aware of, the U-2, SAR-71. Kelly Johnson said, "This is what I want, can you do it? And then, by the way, I want it yesterday." And they did it. And within RADC is that what Rich Robbie runs, and that's what we're really going to miss, is what I call the RADC skunk works. And that's very true, is that it's not something that's well publicized. It may not necessarily be even a project in RB. But if you really want to get it done, you want it to put together, you want it properly engineered, you want it yesterday, go ask me. So that's what this plaque really says. And that's what we're really going to miss. And one more thing, see, is that for many, many years, more than I'd like to admit, I try to define what I call the RADC mystique. There's something peculiar about RADC, and it's all about its people. They seem to be unusually dedicated to the Air Force and to the organization, extremely competent, and it's very difficult to explain. And in doing this, is that Jack Kelly at a farewell speech reminded me of one other thing about RADC people. And the epitome, I think, of people like Rich Robbie is their competence, their dedication, and one more thing that I think is above all important, they're real patriots. So it's a real pleasure, Rich, to present this. We're really going to miss you.
I'm going to speak as loud as I can. If you can't hear me back there, move up. Before we get started, I want to, first of all, thank Ann Buckley and Joanne Smith. They did all the work putting this thing together, so I really appreciate it. And Rich, in case you want to take any notes, there's going to be no time. One thing I noticed when somebody retires at RADC, you got to start about 12 months before their retirement date to try and find something out about them, because about 12 months before things start to disappear. Pictures of them disappear, stories about the people they knew that could tell stories have already retired and they're gone. And really in the last month or two, you have trouble finding the actual guy that's retiring. Rich's case was about the last 6 months. I did find one picture of Rich Robbie, though. Actually, it was a geograph that I had changed into a picture. I don't know whether you can see it there. I'm going to give it to Ginny. I don't know whether she'd ever seen it or not, but that's Rich Robbie. He looks like he's about 14 years old. Still looks 14, right? I don't know if you've seen that before, Ginny. I did run across a newspaper article that he happened to show me. It was dated November 4th, 1961. Just let me read a little bit about it. His beginning was actually so unique that it inspired 2 movies about 20 years later. Ghostbusters and Poltergeist. But let me just take a moment and read some of this. 6 Air Force technicians sent by the White House tried today to learn the cause of the whirring sound that the Bienkowski family says has made their home nearly a madhouse for 9 months. The men from Griffiths Air Force Base, Rome, pulled up yesterday in a van loaded with $500,000 worth of intensity measuring equipment to make their test at the house in suburban Rotterdam. A couple of days later, there was another article. 6 Air Force technicians operating in a cloak of secrecy. Rich never did really talk about what he does. He always operates in a cloak of secrecy. They found one possible clue yesterday to the mystery of the sound that's made the modest brick cottage a madhouse. The civilian technicians from Griffiths Air Force Base told Mrs. Bienkowski that her family's hearing was so acute it could pick up high-pitched sounds that others did not hear. That's a good one. A likely story. The technicians moved into the house in response to an appeal from President Kennedy. When they left yesterday, they refused to disclose the results. I never did find a report on this. I think they still refuse to disclose the results. I don't know whether Rich ever got credit for this, but I think it's time that he did. I can find it. I know he didn't get a plaque or anything like that, or an outstanding achievement, but he did get a t-shirt from us. R squared, that's for RR Rich Robbie. R-A-B-C Ghostbuster. No, this is a low budget affair, Rich. When it's time for you to come up, I'll let you know.
I know these were one at a time, or doesn't get the poster.
So he's really had a unique beginning here at RABC. He started out with almost a direction from the president to go do something. I tried to find things out about Rich, and there's not many people around anymore that, from the old days, even though I see a lot of them out here today. But I did find out about a little red airplane episode. Rich used to be interested and involved in radio-controlled aircraft. I'm not sure if you know what I mean by radio-controlled aircraft, but this is where you got the little box, you got the antenna you pull out, and a couple of joysticks, and you can control an airplane to make it fly and do all kind of fancy things. Well, Rich built this airplane. I guess he built it from scratch and painted it red, put all the latest technology equipment in it. And after really weeks of careful preparation, which included everything except reading the book, he finally took it over to the flight line at Griffiths Air Force Base. And he took it out of the car, he set it on the flight line, he did a nice pre-flight test on it, everything worked. He started it up, pointed it north, gave it a little bit of gas, I guess it is, and the thing took off, climbed to altitudes, and he never seen it again.
Takes that sucker for days.
A few years later, he got serious about it. He went out and went to the Aero Club, the base, started taking lessons, and got his real pilot's license. And the first 10 solo flights he made was up north, trying to find this airplane. I'll say one thing about Rich. He's known for his planning ability. Before he put the airplane in flight, he took his little government magic marker out of his pocket. He wrote underneath the wing, "If found, return to Rich Robbie, RADC, Griffiths Air Force Base." Well, about 2 weeks ago, I got a box in the mail from a farmer up north of Hinkley Lake. And in that box, I found a little, much smaller airplane. I guess maybe being out in the rain, it's shrunk, I don't know. But this is Rich Robbie's original airplane. You know it's his, and he built it because the wheels just fell off. In the box with the airplane, I found a note from the farmer. The farmer said, "I don't know who this Robbie guy is, but if he doesn't quit littering my wheat field, he'll get him fired." So Rich, you may be getting out just in time. Now you can get up. He's the RADC Ghostbuster on this side. He's the RC Wrecker on this side. This is not only his nickname, it's also his CV handle. You know, at a certain age, some of us start to forget things. We gotta start writing notes. A lot of us use these little yellow Post-it signs, you know. Probably some of you got them on your refrigerator door at home right now. Rich Robbie uses 3x5 cards. Hundreds of 3x5 cards. So just to make sure that he makes the transition into retired life, I got him a 10-pack here of 3x5 cards. I think it'll be about a week to 10 days supply. You know you're going to get a lot of 3x5.
Just about a week.
When I was looking around for a retirement gift for Rich, I mentioned to him, I said, "Wouldn't it be nice if they made an electronic 3x5 card?" He says they do, right here. He pulled one out of his pocket and showed it to me. They said the only problem with it is it only holds about 200 lines of data, and that's not enough for me. So if your batteries run down, Rich, you've got a supply there. As you know, for the last, probably 10 or 12 years, Rich has been in charge of the E-Cube laboratory. And during his 30 years of government service, he's had many different names, many different titles, many different roles. He was technician, he was engineer, he was supervisor, he was manager, and he was a pack rat. That's probably the role that he's most famous for, the pack rat role. If you go around the lab, the E-Cube lab, you'll find some of the most modern equipment available. We have probably several $1 million worth of equipment. Along with that modern equipment, you'll find some of the most outdated equipment that probably doesn't work anymore, but is too good to throw away. That's how he got his pack rat title. What he's done around the outside of the laboratory area, he's put shelves. He's put all this old equipment up on the shelves. And then he's taken this clear plastic that drapes down across it, you can see through it. This is supposed to keep it from getting dirty. But several times when I walk back there, I see him just standing there, you know, looking through that, admiring some of that old equipment. I think what I'm going to do, you know, we have these tours that come through every so often. We show the reliability lab, we show the Castle lab, we show the anechoic chamber. I think I'm going to add our museum to the tours. I'm going to take people through and see all the old equipment. This is an example of what I'm talking about. Probably nobody here recognizes this. I'm not even sure if Rich recognizes it now. This is one of his first engineering jobs. I don't think he ever really got it working. I don't think it's been finished, but it was in response to the QRC, the quick reaction capability that we had at one time. And this is when I think probably the first time that the phrase that Rich has become famous for, I really don't have time to do what I like to do, started. He didn't finish it. Rich, I'm going to give it to you now. This is a filter, by the way. With hopes that you get it. Wait till I sell this back to the government. Only to get it working. As you know, when some people retire, they take a long vacation or they move to a warmer climate. Well, Rich is not really retiring. I hear he's had job offers from all the big companies, RCA, GE, IBM, Sanford and Son. Even RB made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Rich is going to be what we call, or what he calls, a retired annuitant. He's going to come back probably about 4 hours a week and work for us. Actually, what he's going to be doing is finishing all the jobs. We've got a new policy in RBC now that nobody is going to retire until the work is done. When Bill Frank retired, he was going to take his family to Florida, so we got him a nice piece of high-end luggage. I think it was American Tourister or one of those brands. Well, since Rich is a retired annuitant, and he'll probably be back next week, I got him a definitely low-end overnight bag. In the overnight bag, you'll find some 3x5 cards.
Carry them pretty good.
Okay, Rich started his career, as I said earlier, with a direction from the White House. And I guess it's only fitting that he end his career with something from the White House. A few years ago when Vice President Bush was here, Rich gave a briefing and got his picture taken with the Vice President, now President Bush. And just to show you how efficient he is, about 3 months ago I started to go through channels through the local congressman, work my way up to get this thing autographed by the president. While I was doing that, Rich came in and said, "Look what I got. I sent this directly to the White House and President Bush signed it for me." I don't know where my request is. It's still in channels.
It only took me about, 4 years to get around to do it, though. Once he made president, I figured it was worthwhile.
What's it say?
This says George Bush.
Which one?
Okay, we've got a few people from the audience that would like to give Rich some presentations. The first person I'd like to call on is Ray Tucker.
Tom already mentioned that a lot of people, we were trying to find, as people retire, we try to find some funny stories and dumb things to do. Tom and I consulted for a while, and Rich was a problem because we really couldn't find a lot of dumb things Rich had done. He actually was real good at what he did. A few faults, obviously, index cards, he taught me all he knew. But Rich, I had improved upon it. We have fan fold index cards here, so I just made a few notes on this. back in '74 when I arrived as a brand new second lieutenant, Rich and Jack were sitting across from each other and sharing a conference table. And for some reason I decided to work for those guys because I guess because they had a capability in a lab that was unsurpassed in the center or anywhere else I'd ever seen. Also the initiative and the drive and also the willingness to defend that capability, which in the center, for anybody who's ever had a lab or been involved with a lab, is a real challenge, trying to maintain a capability that you have. All that junk that we keep around the lab there, Tom, is sometimes good for stuff.
I'll come back to that.
Rich had his real love, of course, was in the lab, but they made him a manager. He's actually been manager for over 16 years because he's the only supervisor that I had at RADC, and I've been there that long. So, but Rich's management style was by setting example. He never, that I know of, really tried to, or well, maybe once he tried to order an engineer to do something, but knowing engineers, he wouldn't have done it anyway. So his management is by example, and he set a very fine example. One of the faults, or maybe of course he didn't probably think it was a fault at the time, but Rich was an insatiable knob twister. If you were doing something in the lab and you had a test set up that you were trying to arrive at some measurement, and Rich walked by, he'd get in there and he would twist all the knobs in the test setup in extremely rapid succession. So there's no way that you could possibly follow what he did. But when you walked away, he had the signal you were trying to find right there, but you had absolutely no idea how he got there. So just be careful. I tried to pick up on that, so if I walk past any test setups, just be careful. But Rich always expected, and his example was he expected everyone to do their best. The best that they could do. Any job, whether it was a technical job or a menial job, was not too small or too big as far as Rich was concerned. He gave it the same dedication, care, execution, and completion, whether it was a small task, a large task, technical job, or cleaning up. I hope that the engineers that you trained, Rich, can carry on in your footsteps, and that we can continue to train some of the new engineers. I do have one of my retirement calendars here. Now, Rich, in this case, was a little bit more difficult because he didn't really retire completely. So this is actually only a 9/10 retirement calendar. He's supposed to come back one day of pay period. Rich, this will help you get through July. The coating on top, you can take a look at it later, but the 3rd, which of course is the day before 4th of July, that's the first retirement day, FRD. 4th is a holiday. Then we have SLDs here, that's sleep late day. GWD, that's government work day. It's the one day he comes in every 2 weeks. That's just before each pay period, so that he'll have a pay period the next month to come in for. But we didn't want him to come in on Fridays, which is our real pay day, because that's the day when all those things come down at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that you don't want to get caught with. So that continues on through the week, but on Tuesday, the 11th, we have a go flying day. And every Tuesday is a go flying day. Now we left the weekends open because he's already figured out what to do with weekends. So let's just get through the rest of the work day. So the Thursdays that was larger, that's your government service day there. So we'll present you with that.
Okay, Charlie, where'd you go?
Well, it's been really great working with you, Rich, the last, I don't know how many years, 10 or 12 years that I've known you closely. And personally, it's been really nice to have someone to bounce off ideas and problems, and we usually get together a couple times a week in the mornings and chat a little bit. And the thing about Rich is that from the perspective of the people in my branch is Rich has always been willing to listen to them and help them solve problems. He's always, of course, had ideas, and he's always had advice, we know that, and it's usually been very good, and we appreciate that. And I want to just, on behalf of myself and everyone in my branch, we want to thank you for all your help. Now, although you're retired, we understand you're going to be really busy. There's at least 2 or 3 jobs that we know of that you have. So the guys kind of got together and thought that you might need a checklist in addition to all the other things that you've gotten because of your things like you might want to remember, like your name, where you live, your car phone number, and stuff like that. Just open it up. Maybe we're overdoing these 3x5 cards, but if you really know Rich, if you really know Rich, he usually doesn't have a clean one.
He's very handy, I'll tell you. I can use some of these every day.
But there's one other thing. There's a lot of things that Rich has done for us in the past, and more recently there's something that he's done that's stood in our mind, and we're very thankful for it. He's arranged for a helicopter, one of these Sky Crane helicopters, to come down and move some B-1 parts from Stockbridge to the base, and then from the base to Newport. And we really appreciate the work that's done in that. And we want to give you a little momentum because that's something he put together.
It's also an air conditioner.
Thank you.
I'm not going to tell you how to turn it off.
Do you want hanging underneath there? Safety strips. Very good. Thank you. How do we turn it off? I don't know.
Okay, adjourned. I guess he can hear me in the back.
I guess I get to represent all of the RADC's upside down airfares. First budget is very low. We had to pan our gift wrapping department. But from all the guys at Stockbridge, all the people involved in the B1 program, this is one of the very few pieces left of B1A #1 at Stockbridge. Whether you can use it or not, I don't know. You ought to be able to hook it up to your position locator in your car.
Plane's getting lighter and lighter.
Maybe you can hook it up to George Dune buggy to tell when the wheels are on it.
I remember that thing, yeah. Yeah. The spoiler.
Lots of dials, but no knob. Enjoyed it very much, Rich.
Oh, hell, I've had a hell of a time with that. Yeah. If we get enough retirements, we'll probably use up all the little pieces. Cleaning up.
I've got miles and miles of wire and pipe and tubing and connectors and stuff. We've got room for lots more parties.
Unfortunately, I didn't have a 3x5 card and I forgot something. Love me one, Rich. Sometimes when a person has a very distinguished career here at RADC, they'll name a building or a laboratory or something after him. Well, Rich has had a laboratory named after him for about 20 years now. And those of you working at RBC are all familiar with the E-Cube laboratory, or what it's really called, Robbie's Hobby Shop. Anybody that hasn't signed this, there's still some space to sign it. But this is the E-Cube lab, Robbie's Hobby Shop. It's going out of business, I guess, now that he's retired.
No,
Oh, that's right, you're going to be back one day.
we've got a lot of good guys to take over, I'll tell you.
I've got a frame for that. It's back in the office. It weighs about 30 pounds. I'll take it back and do a frame for you. Okay, next on the schedule is Carmen Lavera.
You see, I've been well trained. Well, I've only worked with Rich for the last 5 years, but it's been a real rewarding 5 years. We've heard of all of Rich's technical exploits, but he's also, from my perspective, provided me some new management concepts and philosophies. I just want to go through a couple of them. One, in the area of equipment management. His philosophy was, don't throw it away. It can be used for some future project. And as a result of this, we have the largest S&E count in the center. My last count, I think, the largest in the Air Force. And it's growing. His other philosophy is one of management by exception. Rich has now found, to my count, over 1,000 ways to give a negative response on a due date. Pretty good. And of course, the classic management by index cards. It's become a classic. It's also caused a tenfold increase in the requests for index cards in the center, which DO tells me we got a problem right now. Anyway. But in all seriousness, Rich, today I'm wearing two hats. I'm representing RB, and Bart and White, as you know, couldn't make it today. And they tried to videotape a little speech for you, but by the time we edited it all out and cleaned it up, the only thing that came out was best wishes, thanks for the many years. But from all your friends in RBC, I'd really like to thank you for all your work that you have done for both RBC, RB, and RBC. And we really like to wish you the best in the future, both in your retirement and your retirement life, and your work life. But we also have here a certificate. No one leaves here without a certificate of retirement. If you can come up and accept this certificate.
I'm not sure I really want to look at
Well,
this.
it's a token of our appreciation.
Devious minds.
It's indicative. It's a picture of a guy sitting on his easy chair, hanging out his shingles for all the things he can do, reading his index card book, with a saying that I think exemplifies Rich is that I never saw a piece of equipment I didn't like or want. That was the serious gift. Of course, as you leave, we've got to give you something you can have some fun with. So this is from all your friends in REDC, RB, and RBC. Thanks a lot.
See if we can keep them dropping it.
It's the only thing that he knew he was getting, and the only thing I wrapped.
For no expense.
Depth finder for my boat. It's interesting. I've been in the marine repair business and things for years. I've never bought myself a new depth finder. I would always find a depth finder that was completely beyond repair. Some guy said it was going to cost you too much to fix it, so he'd abandon it, and then I'd end up fixing it for myself. And I had all these hand-me-down. I bet you have a half a dozen depth finders. And so I got myself a new one. Anyway, I appreciate, that's not my talk, this is just a talk. I've got another talk, but I'm just saying, this is very appropriate because it's the first new depth finder I've ever had.
Guaranteed not to work. You still may have to fix it.
It's almost your turn to talk, Rich. Let me just finish up with saying that Rich's retirement ceremony is at 2 o'clock Friday in the CMF. I'd like to invite everybody to attend. Colonel Schulstad at that time will be presenting Rich with the Outstanding Civilian Career Medal Award. So if you can make it at all, please show it. And since he'll be officially retired on Friday, I just want to finish my part of this by saying that I'm having a garage sale back at the EQ Lab. 9 o'clock. I'm inviting everybody to come.
I've got some 3x5 cards here, actually. Can't get away without 3x5 cards, but I really appreciate the effort that Tom has gone through and Ann and Joanne in putting this together for us, and you know, it's a tremendous crowd. It's a beautiful day. Can't be better. I'm getting very short now. I'm going to, you know, most people fade down to the 0% level, and when they get shorter and shorter. I'm only going down, as mentioned, to the 10% level. So they'll be seeing me come through, protecting my assets in the lab. And say, hey Ray, they're trying to do it to us again.
You better be there Saturday.
Better be there Saturday. Okay. Ray took my thunder. I had set up myself a set of, only allowed one 3x5 card to talk from, so it was going to be one long one. But what I'd like to do is just real quickly zip through what I consider some highlights of my life around here. And I'll do it very shortly. In fact, I forgot to go to the bathroom, so I thank you. But anyway, just from a little background, and you know, wonder how, if you ever looked at your life and say, why am I here, or how did I get here? What steps got me to this part of my life? And if I'd like to quickly go back, and I ended up going to Georgia Tech. It's a long story, but I ended up at Georgia Tech, got in Civil Air Patrol flying, and because of that I got into ROTC, and then into the Air Force. Well, I was then sent to Keesler Air Force Base, right out of electrical engineering school. They sent me to basic electronics. I met Doug Clark, and the first guy I ever met from this area was Doug Clark. He was down there in the hangar making some radiation hazard measurements on the training radars down there, and I said, you know, hey, that's a neat thing. And there's an opening came up on the base, First Com Maintenance Squadron, and they were the team that was down there working with them. So, long story short, I ended up running that team all the time I was in the Air Force, Thule, all different places, had a hell of a good time. Became part of GIA, got out of the service, about ready to leave, and I met my wife Jenny and changed my mind completely. I was ready to go back to Georgia, and because I had a lot of friends down there, but this was a much better place to be. And so, after a year with RCA, we got married, and started, I called up Quint Porter. I was getting tired of being in the sales business, and I called up Quint Porter, and somehow, then like the next week or so, I had a job with RADC. Charlie Bow. In the process of this, Jenny and I are having our 3 sons, which you've met over here, which has been a hell of a good part of my life. I'll tell you, this has been great up here. Quint Porter, Bob Powers, Project Ghost House, that was the Binkowski thing. Hugh Moses, you and I went out and made those measurements. Sam Zachary, Fred Moore. Fred and I have been kicking around for a lot of years in the measurements business. Bob Powers' retirement party. Anybody remember Bob Powers' retirement party? Fred remembers it. Doug remembers it. It's the only guy who didn't come to his own retirement party. He showed up. Sam, God bless him, went out. It was kind of a mix-up, but that was the best party we ever had, I'll tell you. Bob finally came, and we had a hell of a time. Joe Nareski. The best management decisions we ever made were done Friday at the Savoy for lunch. That's, you know, when you think about it, you really got to get things ironed out before you bring them up officially. So if we could solve them at the Friday luncheons, we surely weren't going to bring them up anyplace else. Became a section and branch chief. Tucker shows up. Now, Tucker has one problem. He's very thorough. We came up with an expression that says might swell. That's might as well. The only reason my house, when we put the second floor on that, is square now is because we were putting the roof on it, and we had all the heavy shingles on one side of the plywood on it, and both the main center line out. We realized it, Ray says might swell, and we ripped about 10 sheets of plywood off that thing, straightened it back out. And that's his attitude all through life, has been, might as well do it right. So I hope that he'll really keep this place going in the attitude of keep it running right. Pam and Shirley. Pam was my first secretary. Shirley. Jack Edwards, the bear getter. I thought somebody might mention Jack, but this Project Have Note they mentioned, Jack got to the point where he was running Have Note at the time, he'd go get out a new missile system, and as the expression goes with the bear, guy runs to the front door and says, you skin this one. As he slams the back door, he says, I'll go get you another one. And Jack was our bear getter and really made that program fly. Pesta and Janello showed up from Detroit, or in the co-op program. And then, of course, Janello went and deserted us, went over to OC, but it's great because we're still working together and he's doing a lot of good in-house. In-house programs he's running, won't let go of that. Ralph showed up from 240 when they finally took his lab away from him. He couldn't stand it any longer, and he showed up, and I'm grateful for that. Hero and Spina, of course, they left us. And as you probably know, I'm liable to go back with them anytime soon, like Monday. Anyway, I had a tremendous time working with the site crews. I was running just the laboratory, and we reorganized, and I ended up taking over all the RDC sites, and that was a lot of fun. I had more darn fun with you guys. And that's why, I really don't want to completely retire, because I want to be able to go out and work with people, spend a little time and consulting and things like that in that area. Bob McGregor, the real bear getter, and not a bear getter, but the guy who could really wing it. Bob could drag in more programs and find more money, and somehow with a straight face make it all work than anybody I know, and we learned a lot from him. The only thing he didn't like was helicopters. He just didn't want to move those parts with that helicopter, and so when he had his back turned and as he left, we very successfully, with great trepidations, did our helicopter moves, so it just worked out very well. But Bob he taught me an awful lot about how to get things done and make programs go, like that B1 program. I probably wouldn't have had enough guts myself to do something like that. And take a guy like him who can say, we're going to do this, we'll find the money, or we'll talk people into it, or whatever. As you know, I don't know if you all know, anyway, coming back 10% of the time, or whatever's needed to do a job, because I want to be with you all. I'm a little tired of being a branch chief. I'd like to not have as many blue slips anymore, but I think I could be as useful in a short time, and I like to keep my hands, like I'm never going to really quite let go. I may fade away sometime. But I'm going with Jerry and John Spina with Command Science, and you'll see me around the base with that. It's some very interesting things we've got lined up. So I'm just trying to trade the mode of operation a little bit, somehow get back in the engineering business again. So I'd never let go of that, and I hope you guys remember that. The only way you can, it's very difficult to get promoted in the center to a higher grade without becoming a supervisor. And there's little they can do about it unless they put a few people through the special tracks. But keep in mind that you really want to be an engineer and do as much engineering as you can, because that's what REC is about, engineering. I'm talking to Bart when I've been telling people, I wanted to tell people plenty ahead of time, Christmas time or a little before that, I really want to retire. And seriously, he said, well, how do we keep you guys around that are, you're not over the hill completely, you got a lot of wisdom, and I hope I still have some wisdom, but how do we keep you around? And my answer really, I really want to get some more time. I need to find an extra day to myself. So remember that if you can figure out a way like I'm doing with the center, I think it's beneficial to everybody, where maybe they'll hire you back out of the management business, back into engineering, let you work part-time, probably be more efficient from an engineering standpoint than you were before, but it's something to look forward to, that if you're doing a good job and you get to a plateau in life, you'd like to do something else, just don't go running off to the outside world. There's a lot of good things right in the course of this area. I wouldn't leave here for life. So anyway, I'll see y'all the rest of this week, and I'll be back. And for most of you, I'll be wandering the halls periodically, hopefully with just my government badge on at the time. And but the idea is to get back into engineering and still be with y'all and have both the best of both worlds. So thanks.
Hello, Mr. McGregor. How you doing? Mr. McFarland, somebody told me to follow you. Well, if you want to go right there. Lose your phone, sure enough. You should listen to him, huh?
Already, back down there, all valuable as an apple. Back
cable. We got the P-47. They're trying to. They got over 2,000 guys in this.
I'm going to.
I got one tomorrow morning. Well, I thought I'd fix you walk at your party. I don't know. I have no idea. They could have been a lot better. I didn't tell anyone. No. John Bosker's come down and
What else? Have you got anything of value? With that indicator on
That's right. Yeah, remember that though, right?
Hey, Rich, want to just look here for a second?